The home building industry is no stranger to companies claiming to speed up the construction process, but modular construction company Veev says it's Amazonifying the home building industry. It secured $100 million in March to help meet its goal of constructing homes 4 times faster than the industry standard. So I'm joined today by CEO Amit Haller to learn more about the company and how it differentiates itself from other offsite construction startups. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Caroline, and thank you for having me.
Of course. So to start, I understand your idea for Veev spawned from your time as a real estate developer, correct? So could you tell me more about the beginnings of Veev and how you came to enter the modular construction industry?
Absolutely. Veev started as a company about 12 years ago. And we did really start as asset management and development company. Initially, working with the traditional industry, building up multifamilies, single families. And as time passed, we realized that actually pretty much every year, it takes us longer to build, more expensive, and actually the quality goes down. And it's really, when we start to dig into this issue, we start to understand the intensity of labor-sensitive industry it is. And labor becomes more and more in shortage as the entire kind of economy recover. I mean, we started 12 years ago, so 2008, right? Those days, people will beg for work, right? But since over time, it's really changed. And we realized that something very, very significant need to be changed around that. Coming from tech, so originally way before Veev, we were tech people in the software industry, semiconductor, consumer electronic. We thought that there's a lot of elements from technology that we can actually bring into the construction industry in order to create this efficiency. And that's where Veev, about 5 years ago, started to be evolved from real estate development company to construction tech company.
Great. And so Veev says it can help construct homes, as I mentioned earlier, 4 times faster than the industry standard. So can you discuss now that Veev process and how you achieve this construction schedule?
Absolutely. Just before I explain how Veev does it, let me explain the challenges that we were facing when we look into the modular construction industry. And the challenges included 4 main elements. The first one, it is faster, but not much faster. It is cheaper, but not much cheaper, right? In some cases, not even cheaper. The third challenge was not really there. A lot of the prefab modular construction is really looking into the affordable housing and to very, very basic qualities, which doesn't help us to build the not even high-end or luxury, but the higher-end type of mid-class buildings that we are looking for. But the fourth issue is the worst of all. I mean, the fourth issue is basically that a lot of the modular construction industry, you need to design upfront for modulars versus being able to take existing plans and retrofit them into the modular system. Now, we are in entitled projects. We cannot go back and redesign them, right? When the entitled projects are already kind of very well-defined and very particularly defined, and most, if not all, modular construction companies told us, sorry, next time come much earlier. What we decided to do is to solve all those 4 issues and to an extreme. I mean, and without any compromises. And in order to do that, we needed to do 2 very important things. One, to understand what is the modular component of it. Is it volumetric, like many other industries? Is it a panel? It's a subsection. And we realized that it's really a panel, because the panels are the one that's actually following the linear lines or the vector lines of the home building, the layouts, right, from the top bottom. The second thing we needed to look into is how can we create a panel that is going to be rigid enough in order to be able to be transport fully constructed, closed walls, as we call it. Everything in is already included. To be simple enough in the site that they can be plugged and play to each other without a lot of messy hard work still on site. and keeping the right and maintaining the right qualities. And at that point, we realized that we need to rethink materials. We cannot use wood anymore. We cannot use, which is very unpredictable material in general. And during delivery time, it can expand significantly because of humidity and such. We cannot use drywall, which are very, very fragmented and required a lot of finishing work on site. So we didn't accomplish the plug and play. And we really moved at that point to two main materials. Steel, light gauge steel, that's what we are making the entire structure of the walls, and HPS, high performance surfaces. High performance surfaces, also known as the solid surfaces, or the most common brand of that is Corian from DuPont. This is actually a magical material. It's very tough. It's non-scratchable, non-stainable. Basically, it's almost like close to impossible to damage it. On the other hand, it's very precise. It can be machined to qualities and to precision that never seen before. And with those two elements and a lot of software behind it, which I'm going to talk more about, we managed to create a system that we can build 4 times faster than anyone else at lower cost, increasing quality standards to new levels that never seen before. And most importantly, we can basically take any entitled plan and slice it to the panels, panelize it basically, and build pretty much anything out there. As high as 8 stories right now.
Thank you for starting with those challenges. So how long then did it kind of take you from when you identified those first challenges to kind of coming to this finalized system that is Veev today?
So the company, the evolution into the tech started about 5 years ago, and it's pretty much took us 5 years. But I think that the not less important point here is that we're not done. I mean, we probably have roadmaps of improvements for the next 20 years. I think that I've done quite complicated stuff in my past. I've done the very first semiconductor for Bluetooth. I've done one of the very first smartphones, things which incorporated a lot of mechanics and electronics and software. And this task, technology-wise, is by far the most complicated thing I've done in my life. It requires so many multidisciplines to come together, and there's so many different regulations and safety issues and reliability that need to last for tens of years, if not hundreds of years. So this is like a new scale. This is literally as complicated as aerospace. And so even for us, with all the great achievements we've done in the past 5 years, we still have a way long path to cross and journey to go in order to continue to improve it.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm interested to learn a little more detail about a few things that you had mentioned. So one of those is the actual production of these panels. Can you tell me more about that? I understand they're made in a factory. What's that process like, and how long does that take? Yeah.
We have one factory right now in Union City in the Bay Area, in Silicon Valley. And this single factory is capable to produce about 800,000 square feet a year of living space. The unique thing about this factory is that there's relatively limited amount of raw materials coming in. So it's really the rolls of steel in variety of sizes, and the sheets of HPS for the exterior cladding and such. With those two raw materials, we managed to build big significant portion of the building itself. So it's not just about the walls. But as an example, when we cut out an opening for the door in the wall in the HPS, with the leftover material, we're actually building the door. 3 main machines: roll formers to create the structural components, huge size CNC machines in order to texture and cut and all the opening cuts in the HPS and such, and a very large scale printer that actually printing the textures and the finish colors and paint colors or any other kind of texture materials. It could look like wood plank or stucco or cement boards or anything like that. And the unique approach we took there is that we created a factory that is very, very lean as far as CapEx and relatively lean as far as manpower. but also very tiny in size. Our factory size is only 50,000 square feet compared to other modular construction companies that requires hundreds of thousands of square feet, typically on average 500,000 to 1 million square feet. This strategy allows actually to place those factories next to the demand area instead of creating a huge centralized factory that need to distribute to larger distances. And this is great because one, it's a big saving on transportation. It's a huge contribution to in the reduction of carbon dioxide because of the lack of transportation. But it's also creating local jobs next to the demand areas, right? So instead of centralizing the jobs in one location and having very little amount of jobs where we really build, I mean, we actually kind of creating the jobs on site. So it's a very unique manufacturing facility with the concept that we are going to build many more of those next to the major demand areas.
So how you're mentioning these distribution centers near these construction sites, that's a whole Amazonify aspect that Veev is really striving for. That's one of your goals now, correct?
That's correct. I mean, it does follow a lot of Amazon and others concept of the kind of the last mile, I would say. I mean, it's not necessarily literally the last mile. It could be the last 10 mile, but it's really pushing some added value into intersection, distributed intersection. So we centralize the raw material in one location, but then the raw material is coming to those distributed centers. They're not really distribution centers because we really manufacturing over there. So that's why I call it more like the added value of fabrication center, which are well distributed in the last 10 miles type of radiuses of where the demand is.
So, there's a large array of offsite construction companies with similar goals, speeding up the construction process, but they have different processes. But why do you think Veev might be the best choice for developers, and how do you differentiate yourself from those other offsite construction companies?
I mean, first and for all, I don't think necessarily it's a one size fits all, and I would welcome as many more off-site modular construction companies, different technologies, 3D printing, whatever it is. We as humanity, I think it's going to be the next humanity crisis. I mean, we as humanity need it. We need housing, we need shelter, as much as we need food and water and sleep, right? I mean, this is really in the fundamental of our needs, and we are in a huge shortage, and we are not going to solve it linearly because there's less labor in construction every year, less and less. And on top of that, now we have the supply chain crisis making things even worse. And we don't build more in the US because there's no need. We don't build more because we cannot build more. And this is not even just a US problem. This is a worldwide problem at this point. So I would welcome everyone there. Our particular differentiation versus some others is one, our ability with one system to go as high as 8 stories. Many others are limited to single families or ADUs and such. I think our speed is really at a record speed as far as the ability to build stuff 4 times faster. And we can build anything. So we have no limitations as far as how things looks like. I mean, what is the structure? Basically we have no limitation within our systems as far as how high the ceiling is. I heard about companies that are limited to 8 height ceiling. I mean, this is not modern, or this is not up to date standard of living today. It's at least 9 feet, right? So we have no limitation as high, no limitations in the size of our windows. Everything is super green, super high quality. So it's really all of the above.
Is there anything else, before I let you go, that you wanted to add about Veev?
We really would welcome any partnership, any idea, any thoughts, any collaboration. I mean, it could be developers, it could be other builders. I think the problem or the challenge of housing today is is so enormous. So it's beyond one company. And I really would like to call anyone with ideas, thoughts. It could be a customer, it could be a partner, it could be an employee. I mean, we need help from the entire industry to accomplish this big mission.